There's nothing more fun than hitting a baseball with a bat that you made yourself. My name's Brad Gresock. I'm a senior and I live in Western Pennsylvania. I make my own custom wooden baseball bats. I've been playing baseball since I was 4 years old and been making bats since I was 13. I've been the starting catcher on Seneca Valley's championship team since my sophomore year. This video is going to quickly show you the process of hand turning your own wooden bat. I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. Now the first step is to obtain a wooden billet. These I get from the BWP Bat Company located in Brookville, Pennsylvania. And this is an ash. You can either choose between ash or maple are the most common. The difference between the two woods is that the ash is a lighter wood and usually you can make the bat itself bigger. And the maple is a harder wood, so it's a little more heavier. Today I'm going to make a bat out of maple. Okay, the next step is to set up the lathe. This is the lathe itself and the table underneath. It needs to be held down by these clamps right here. After setting up the lathe, we are going to lay out the cutting tools. Now, these, along with these other ones, are the lathe cutting tools. These are the calibrators that we're going to be used to setting the width of the bat. We have a ruler, a pencil, and most importantly, are the safety glasses. The next step is to cut the billet to the desired length. I'm going to cut mine to 31.5 inches. The MLB regulation is that you cannot exceed 40 inches. So what I'm going to use the tape measure and mark the length with the pencil and then cut it on the radial arm saw. Okay, the next step is to cut on the radial arm saw. Before I do any of my woodworking, always make sure there's no jewelry, no loose article of clothing, and always wear your safety glasses. Okay, the next step is to find the center end of each billet. This is so that it is centered and even throughout when you put it on the lathe. And by doing this, you just measure and make a crosshairs, and that is your center point right there. The next part is after we found the center of each end of the billet, I'm going to use an awl and make a small hole in the wood by just applying pressure. After that, I'm going to use the live center piece that goes into the lathe and hammer that down into this end of the wood so that it's ready to go. After that, I'm going to put the billet into the lathe. And start to lock it in, but not lock it in completely. Spin it by hand now to make sure it rotates and it's in there. After putting the billet on the lathe, we are going to put the tool rest in its spot. Now, what the tool rest does is it gives you protection, first of all, when using and making the cut, and it also gives a flat surface so that you have an even cut throughout. Now it's ready for the fun part. I'm going to select my largest cutting gouge and get ready to do some woodworking using the using the power switch to turn the lathe on with my safety glasses on, no jewelry, and I'm ready to go.
can see, I made my first cut, and what I'm going to do is go down the entire length of the wood so that it is even throughout. And I do this by just holding the gouge like so, with my one hand on top, one finger on top, the rest of the hand on the bottom, and apply pressure while leaning up against the tool rest. And with all the shavings that there are plenty of, especially with this type of wood, I gather them up and use them for recycling. Okay, now that I've evened the billet out, I'm going to make my marks for my knob and for my barrel. So I usually just make the length of the knob about an inch by marking it with my pencil. And the barrel, it varies on what I want and what kind of wood I'm using, but I'm going to make one right about here. And now I'm going to just make a couple more marks, just so I can see the marks when spinning. I'm going to power the lathe on and use the tip of my pencil to make a line, which is one of the coolest parts of this. Now, as you can see, I'm using a different gouge for my cutting tool. Now I'm just checking the width of it. And the one nice thing about making your own custom bat is that the handle, the knob, the barrel, everything can be custom made to what you want and what you feel. After the bat is shaped to what you want it to be, we're going to use some sandpaper to smooth that out and start making the finish. So just wrap it around, turn the lathe on and wrap the sandpaper around, hold tension. Now, to get this down to the desired diameter, I first took it down with the cutting tools that I used before, and then I left a little bit on so that when I used my sandpaper I could be at my final diameter and check, and indeed I am. Now that we are done on the lathe, I'm going to take the bat off and use a scale to weigh it. This is just a regular male scale, and just put it on here and you can get your weight and see how much it weighs. And one of the nice things about cutting the billet and the wood to length at the very beginning is that you can take it off and put it back on the lathe whenever you want, because if you need to make changes. So right now I've got a nice baseball bat, and as there are many other things you can do to it, you can add multiple different stains. As this one is in its natural regular form, there's another one that I left in the regular state. This stain is a darker reddish stain that I used. And here's just a lighter brown stain. And these two right here is my personal favorite finishes. They are flame torched by just burning the bat with a propane torch. Now, like any good craftsman, I have a maker's mark as well. And what I do is I put two little rings on the knob of my bat, and along with that I always put a cross on the end of it. And my name's Brad Gresock, and I'm a bat maker.